So we have most of our quarterbacks that are set now, right? We know that a bunch of rookies are starting around the NFL. What we don't know is about Tampa Bay. So more conflict resolution that's needed there when we talk about Kyle Trask versus Baker Mayfield. And we will also ask Matt Verderame that same question. He joins us now from Sports Illustrated. Matt, happy Friday, first of all.
Hey, happy Friday. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for a couple of minutes. Why Sam Howell for the Washington Commanders?
I think really for them, it's probably the best option. I mean, realistically, they could go with Jacoby Brissett, but the reality is, Brissett's not the future there. They know that. He's bounced around the league. He's a good backup. He's not a good starter. And if you're Washington, if you're not winning the Super Bowl this year, you're trying to figure out a little bit of what you may have. Howell's a second-year player. If he's good, you've got a quarterback under rookie contract for the next 3 years. I think it just probably is the higher upside play for the Commanders.
What are your expectations for that team that finished last in the NFC East in 2022 while the other three teams went to the playoffs?
I think it's a team that is still trying to figure out its future a little bit. I mean, and you see that with the quarterback situation, right? I mean, Howell's going to come in there, new offensive coordinator with Eric Bieniemy, who I know has been kind of controversial there. But Bieniemy's going to get the best out of them. Did that in Kansas City. He'll do it in Washington. They have some pieces on offense. You look at McLaurin, you look at Dar Dotson. I mean, they have some talent. And the defensive side of the ball, the front seven is very good. The secondary is really going to be where the questions come in. But I think it's a team that it probably has a low ceiling. I mean, maybe they win 6-7 games. It's just a group that, compared to the Eagles, the Cowboys, I mean, those are a quarter of the schedule, those games, and it's going to be hard for them to compete. So, competitive, sure. A playoff team, I think that's probably a stretch for Washington.
They weren't actually a losing team last year. They were 8-8-1 with that tie there against the Giants. So not as bad even as some of the other divisions. For instance, they might have been competing for the division title in the NFC South if they were somewhere else. You mentioned Eric Bieniemy, and we're doing a conflict resolution Friday here, Matt. So this cracks me up. Maybe I'm the only one who finds this amusing. It's not like the Commanders' offense has been so good in recent years that they don't need to be whipped into shape a little bit. But did it make you laugh when you heard about some of the players balking at Bieniemy's style or yelling at them?
Yeah, I thought it was ridiculous. Look, Bieniemy won 2 Super Bowls in the last 4 years, and Patrick Mahomes doesn't have a problem with him. Travis Kelce doesn't have a problem with him. Tyreek Hill doesn't have a problem with him. Like, if you're a player on offense in Washington, maybe you should just take his advice and deal with it if it's a little bit gruff. This is the NFL. This isn't JV in high school. Mm-hmm. This is the National Football League. Guys get yelled at all the time. So I think at some point you have to toughen up a little bit. If that's too hard for you, well, that's fine. Maybe you're not cut out for the NFL. This is a league where Bill has made a living just screaming at people, and he's one of the most successful coaches of all time. I mean, it's the way it is, and I think maybe it shows that in Washington in recent years there hasn't been the accountability that there's going to be under Bieniemy. I think that's a good thing for the team, but maybe something they're not used to.
Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated with us here on a Football Friday. Now it's I almost said it. It's Maggie and Perloff, wrong show, on CBS Sports Radio. Matt, who do you think is the better option at starter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
I think to start the season, it's Baker Mayfield. If you're Todd Bowles, you know that if you don't win this year, if this thing goes sideways, you might be out of a job. And so I think you need to go with Mayfield, who, while he has a ceiling, we all know that. He's on his 14 now in 3 years. He can win games. He's shown that. He went in Cleveland in 2020. They won 11-5. He won a playoff game on the road. Now, that team was built to run the ball and play pretty good defense, and Mayfield had to be a caretaker. With Tampa, he's going to have to push the ball a little bit more down the field with guys like Evans and Godwin. But I think you start out with Mayfield, and if you get off to a good start, maybe you compete in what is a really weak division. If you're not competing and the season clearly isn't going to go the way you want it to by, let's say, around November, then I think you turn it over to Kyle Trask, former second-round pick out of Florida, and say, all right, let's see what we have in this kid. Let's get half the season out of him. Let's get 10 games out of him. But to start, you don't want to lose the room, and I think Mayfield, if you start him the rest of those veterans will feel like you're giving them their best chance to win.
It's crazy how much turnover there's been in the NFC South. If you think about it, all the coaches and all the quarterbacks have turned over in the last 2 seasons, and it really is a free-for-all. It's totally up for grabs.
It is. It is. I mean, you could really make a case for any of those teams. I think Tampa's probably the team that you would make the least case for, just based on all the turnover. But Atlanta, look, some people love the Falcons. I like the roster. I worry about the quarterback. I don't know that Desmond Ridder is going to be able to win 9-10 games. Now, maybe he will. Maybe he goes and he proves me wrong. I think that's going to be a challenge. New Orleans, of course, you bring in Derek Carr. If Michael Thomas can be healthy, that's an offense you look at and go, okay, you've got Olave, you've got Carr, you've got Thomas, Kamara. That's a good group. I mean, that's a group, especially in the Dome, it's going to score some points. The question you have with the Saints is Dennis Allen. Allen was a disaster with the Raiders, but I don't really hold that against him because they were incredibly dysfunctional. Last year, the team didn't perform very well. So you wonder with that. And I like Carolina if they can block at all. Like Carolina, to me, look, Bryce Young comes in. He's got a really good situation with Frank Reich and some veteran receivers. They bring in Miles Sanders to run the ball. I like that team. Defensively, I think they're going to be pretty good under Jair Evero, came over from Denver. It's just it's a wide-open division. It's probably a race to 9-10 wins at the most.
Matt, we've got a couple of teams that are getting crazy, as Dan Campbell calls it, crazy hype, the hype train, right, in this preseason. One of them is the Detroit Lions. The other is the Jacksonville Jaguars, based on how they finished last year. Jacksonville obviously capitalized on its first playoff game with that unbelievable comeback. Which one of those teams do you think is better equipped to actually build on last year as opposed to flop out when they start 23?
I think. By the way, they both will be playoff teams this year. But Jacksonville is better equipped for a few reasons. Better quarterback, more experienced coach, and that division outside of Jacksonville is a tire fire. So they should be 6-0 in that division. Now, I'm not saying they will be. Like they may lose to Tennessee, but they should be 5-1 that big. I mean, realistically, you get 6 games in the AFC South. You get 4 games against the NFC South, which is the weakest division in football. Then, you got to go play Buffalo as part of your first-place schedule. You're going to play them in London, and that's a road game technically for Jacksonville, but it's really almost like a home game. It's a pretty beneficial schedule. They get the Chiefs in Jacksonville week 2, so you get them early in the year. It's going to be hot. I think that plays to Jacksonville's advantage. If they're going to beat the Chiefs, that's probably about the best-case scenario at the home opener. I think Jacksonville's got a real chance to push for the top seed in the AFC, not because they're the best team. I don't think they're better than Kansas City or Cincinnati, but it's about the schedule. Remember a couple of years ago when Tennessee was the 1 seed? It's because of the schedule, the way the schedule played out. I think that Jacksonville could absolutely win 12 games and be right there. I don't think they'll get the 1, but I think they're going to be in the conversation because their schedule is just really, really easy, and I do think they're good.
As opposed to, say, the AFC East, where Buffalo's going to have a fight, or even the West, where theoretically, I know it was supposed to happen last year, but there could be a fight for the Chiefs. Matt Verderame is with us here on CBS Sports Radio. You said best-case scenario. What is the best-case scenario for the Colts and Jonathan Taylor?
You know, I visited the Colts as part of my training camp tour, and I was really impressed with Shane Steichen. I sat there and talked to him for a while. I think he's going to get them headed in the right direction, but this year's just going to be a tough year, I think. I mean, watching them, there's just simply not enough talent for them to beat a lot of teams. I think they're going to be probably drafting in the top 5. I love Anthony Richardson. I think his talent, I mean, watching him, it was like watching George Kittle play quarterback, but be really proficient. I mean, he's huge. But he's good. You know, I think a lot of times whenever we have a mobile quarterback, we have this tendency to just say, oh, he can play outside structure, which he can, but he moves in the pocket really well. I mean, he's a guy talking to Steichen, really high IQ, understands the offense, understands what they're trying to do. My big question with Richardson is, A, does he just spend the whole year running for his life? Nobody gave up more sacks outside of Denver than the Colts last year. And B, can he be accurate? He was not accurate in high school. He was not accurate in college. It typically translates to the pros. Can he buck that trend? Can he be another Josh Allen, a guy who improves his accuracy as time goes on?
All right, before I let you go, it's a wide open. It's a free-for-all Friday. You can pick one other NFL storyline that floats your boat right now. Matt, what is it?
I think the Raiders are going to compete for the number one pick in the draft this year.
Oh, God.
I really do. Like, I look at the Raiders and say, you're in the wrong conference. You're in a tough division. I don't buy Denver, but I think Denver's going to be better. And the Chargers and the Chiefs, I think, are going to beat them 4 times. I don't believe at all in the coach. The quarterback situation, I mean, Garoppolo's played 10 games in his career 3 times. I believe this is now his 9th season. If they have to go to their backup, you're talking about Hoyer, maybe it's Aiden O'Connell, who was a 4th-round pick out of Purdue, looked good in their first preseason game. I mean, it's bad. Like, I could see I don't think they'll get the number one pick. I think Arizona's going to be brutal, but the Raiders might go, 3-14 or something. I mean, I think they're going to be in that realm.
Are you ready for your life to be not your own again? Because we're inside of 3 weeks to go until the season kicks off.
Oh, the last 2 weeks, all I've done is drive all over the Midwest for my camp tour. So I've accepted that, yes, my life does not belong to me until about May 1st. It belongs to Sports Illustrated.
There you go. Well, congratulations. The new gig, and you're doing it well. We're glad to have you on the show. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Verderame, Verderame. Now with SI as an NFL insider, and we're pleased to spend a couple of minutes with you. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Hey, no problem. Take care.